right, guys, UFC Vegas 79, lightweight, main event. Does it get any better than this? Yeah, maybe if it wasn't at the Apex, but this is pretty good stuff. And before we get into like my predictions about this fight, I just need to talk about how much I love this goddamn fight. Like, I love Fiziev's work so much. He's a stand-up striker, Muay Thai background. Muay Thai is my favorite base for MMA, even though it might not be the best base for MMA. I love watching it. Probably why I love watching One Championship so much. And the moment that we found out that Fiziev was fighting again, I was instantly excited. Like, I don't care who I see Fiziev against, I'm always gonna love watching him strike. And watching that Justin Gaethje fight, like, obviously Justin Gaethje won. Like, I'm okay with that. That second round is a bit for me, but overall, like, by the time the fight was finished, I know you're not meant to score fights this way, but to me, once the fight was finished and Gaethje was the one that got his hand raised, it was like, yeah, Gaethje won that fight. Go back and watch that fight though. You know, honestly score that second round because they are scored individually, and when you score them individually, Gaethje definitely got his roll on and definitely won the overall fight. But round one, Fiziev. Round two, could have been Fiziev's. Could have been, but either way, doesn't matter. It just goes to show what a great striker Rafael Fiziev is. I mean, he stood there with Gaethje in a 3-rounder and kept it competitive, kept it close. By the end of it, Gaethje ran away with it, fine. But he still stood there with Gaethje and kept it close, which to me is really bloody admirable. And I think this fight, if Dustin Poirier is serious about staying as a contender, this is the sort of fight that Dustin Poirier needs to keep a very close eye on. Because if Fiziev wins this fight, or whoever wins this fight, they're going to be the one that is now inserted in the new lightweight top 5. And that top 5 is a closed circle. It's a competitive division. And, you know, Gaethje knew this. Gaethje knew that if he wanted to stay competitive, he had to take on one contender and put himself right back in there. And now Dustin Poirier is in the exact same situation. He needs to take on a fresh contender and put himself right back in there. Michael Chandler has just been left out to dry by the UFC. You know, if I was Michael Chandler as well, this might be the chance to just say, you know, stuff Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor, I don't need Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor needs me. Conor McGregor needs a big name. I'm the most exciting fighter. And whoever wins this fight, for Michael Chandler to just go straight out on Twitter charging and get himself back in there, because Michael Chandler hasn't had a payday in a year now, the poor guy. Just sitting around waiting for Conor McGregor to get off coke and get back into the testing pool. Let's talk about the fight. Let's talk about the specifics of the fight. Now, I feel like we have already seen this fight. You know what I mean? I think that this fight is one of those fights that we've seen it 100 times before. You got a striker versus a wrestler, and we've already seen Fiziev against RDA. And this is where I want to start my sort of thinking about this fight and who is going to win this fight. RDA tried, I believe it was 16, 17. He tried a lot of bloody takedowns against Fiziev, and he only landed 2 of them. He only landed 2 of those takedowns. And when you're constantly throwing takedowns, like Mateusz Gamrot, I assume will be doing, when you're constantly throwing takedowns against someone who has a great takedown defense, you are now starting to work yourself into a clinch game up against the cage. And you were talking about an excellent Muay Thai striker here, which means knees up the middle, heavy elbows across the face, heavy elbows as the break is happening, knees and rushing in shots. As Mateusz Gamrot is running in for single legs and double legs, you're looking at uppercuts, knees, you're looking at a Muay Thai striking specialist. And this is where I think we are going to start to see over 25 minutes, Mateusz Gamrot start to slow down. That first round is going to be heavy pressure. It's not going to be looking good for Rafael Fiziev, as Mateusz Gamrot is just going to be rushing these takedowns, is what I believe is going to happen. Because if Gamrot chooses to stand and bang with Fiziev in that first round to see how he goes on the feet, I don't think it's going to be very nice for Gamrot. I don't think Gamrot's going to enjoy that very much at all. So I think we're going to start at a bit of a range-finding game early in the first. There might be a few strikes exchanged, and then Gamrot's going to realize, okay, I know what I have to do here. I have to start trying to go for these takedowns and start opening things up. And Fiziev is going to get extremely defensive and be engaging on his takedown defense, which is going to be awesome to watch. And as this starts to happen and as this fight starts to go on, the damage that Fiziev is going to be landing on Gamrot in these messy grappling exchanges. I can see some people on Twitter calling this a bit of a boring fight because it is going to get a bit grapply in the middle stages of the fight. This is when Fiziev is going to start to pull away and start to do real damage on Gamrot. I do believe that we could be looking at a technical knockout somewhere in the fourth, early in the fifth. It might even be a stool stoppage between the fourth and the fifth because of the damage that is going to be laid on Gamrot as he's coming in to do these takedowns. I think that's the way that this fight is going to wrap up. I think by the time the fight is said and done, it's going to be an extremely entertaining fight that we are going to have a lot to talk about, and there is going to be a lot of damage on Gamrot's face. Very similar to how Fiziev looked with all the damage on his face after Gaethje. Maybe I haven't given Gamrot enough credit. I know that he is an excellent wrestler. I know that his pressure is relentless. He has fantastic cardio, but your cardio is only as good as your ability to get kneed and uppercut in the stomach. Like, Gamrot has amazing cardio, but Fiziev has great body work and great grappling defense. You know, Fiziev knows the direction that he is heading in, and he knows that in lightweight, wrestling is such a heavy base of it. I mean, look at the current champion. Look at what Khabib did. Like, wrestling is so important, and he has been training his wrestling defense so well. His wrestling defense was great against RDA, and that was several years ago, so it's only gotten better since then. And I think that this is going to be a real showcase for Fiziev and for us, the fans, to learn exactly where his wrestling is, because you know that he's been looking at Islam Makhachev. You know that he's been training for Islam Makhachev. Once you're in the top 5 of any division, honestly, look at Jamal Hill's title shot chance. Look at back in the day, Khabib against that New York banker. What was his name? I can't remember it right now. Ally Quinta, that's it. Look at Khabib against Ally Quinta. Like, once you are in that sort of top 7, I mean, oh my God, Strickland is a world champion. Once you are in the top 7, top 5, you are within striking range of the title shot. This sport is so crazy. Once you're there, you should be looking at your next competitor, and you should also be ready at any day, any week to get that call, hey, do you want to fight for a UFC belt? Because it can happen at any stage. This year alone has proved that it is crazy out there. So Fiziev knows that, and he has been practicing his wrestling and working on his wrestling. And this Saturday night, we are going to be able to see how far his wrestling has come. I do believe he is going to get the win over Gamrot. I cannot wait for this fight to happen. I am so excited. If Fiziev loses, I'm just, there we go. Another one, another good one gone. What are you going to do? Guys, who do you think is going to win this fight? Leave it down in the comments. If you've been enjoying these videos, maybe consider clicking subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.